Meeting of the Gateway School Board of Directors for Thursday, April 26, 2018. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we do a roll call, Bonnie, could we do the oath of office for our newly selected school board member, Mr. Jack Bobo? Sure. She's a notary.
Nice. Bonnie does everything.
Mr. Bobo, welcome. Please raise your right hand and repeat this oath after me.
I, Jack Bobo,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thank you. Thank you.
Bonnie, can we have a roll call?
Okay, I'm ready. Sorry.
As soon as you're ready.
Mr. Bova.
Here.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Here.
Mr. Gottman.
Here.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Here.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Here.
Mr. McIntyre.
Here.
Mr. Ritter.
Here.
Mrs. Warning.
Here.
Mr. Williams absent.
So we were going to have a student report, Mr. Key. Are you all set up to do your presentation, or could we have our student report first? Okay. I would like to have Madison Neuendorfer, who's here, for a student report today. If you want to step up to the podium, Maddie. Just introduce yourself and tell everybody why you're here tonight.
Hi, I'm Madison Neuendorfer, and I'm a sophomore at the high school. And I'm here because I represented the United States in Costa Rica for soccer.
And are you going to tell us a little bit about your trip to Costa Rica?
Yeah. So in Costa Rica, we played the Costa Rican national team down there, and we also visited several places. We went to a community center down there in San Jose. It was called Porta Vida, and down there we played with the kids, and we brought them several things, and it was great to see the smiles on the kids' faces, and it was interesting to see how the things we take for granted, like the kids down there, the community center takes care of them while the parents are going to rehab because they're alcoholics or they abuse drugs. And so it was great to see how we take advantage for things like that. So we brought them coloring books, colored pencils, blocks, and they played with them all day until we left. And it was great to see how when we would play with them, how they would respond, because at their houses, like they don't get that from their parents at all.
And go ahead, Rick.
You tell us a little bit about like the process and what you went through to get even looked at to be on this team.
So basically, you play for your cup team, and you perform well there, and you get to play ODP, which stands for Olympic Development Program. And so you try out for the state team, which is the PA West Soccer Association. And so from there, you attend practices and the Virginia Friendlies. And you perform at the Virginia Friendlies. You can get noticed by the regional staff and the national staff there. And so then you stay in the pool of PA West Soccer, and you get selected for the official state team to go to the regional tournament. And at the regional tournament, you play states from all around New England. You play the other 13 states. And there you also get noticed by the regional national staff. And from that tournament, they choose about 300 players to go to the ODP camp, which this year it was held in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And this upcoming year it's held in Rhode Island. So you perform well at the camp and you get selected for what is called the pool. The pool is made up of 40 players, and from the pool they select for the regional team, which is made up of the best 18 players, basically from the 13 states, New England. And from there, you get selected for 2 events. The 2 events are Boca Raton, Florida, which is held in December, the end of December. And then you can also get selected for Costa Rica, which is held in the end of February.
That explains why it was kind of hard to get you to. I've been trying to get you to come and speak at a board meeting since you went to Costa Rica. Every time I spoke to your mom, we're traveling to here, we're traveling there. Yeah, a lot of us have been following your exploits on your mom's Facebook page, because I don't think she posts anything but stuff about Keep. That's a lot of scheduling to keep track of. Are you able to balance that with your schoolwork?
Yeah, the teachers at the high school are very supportive of it, and they're fine with it as long as I communicate with them and get it done on time.
Can you tell everybody what your GPA is?
Currently, it's a 4.0.
Do we ever applaud him?
Yeah. There you go, Matt.
I understand you've already made a decision on college with a scholarship as well as a sophomore.
Last year, in August, I committed verbally to Duquesne University.
That's impressive.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Position?
Goalkeeper.
Anybody else have any questions for Maddie?
Would you mind putting a clinic on? Because most of us, we don't know how to, so if you could
Actually, we might have you sit
Saturday.
here for to protect Dr. Short every once in a while when there's things being thrown from the crowd.
Thank you very much.
taken?
Thank you, Maddie. We all really appreciate you coming and carving out a little time out of your schedule to come and share your story with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Maddie. Next up is our school police presentation by Chief Brian Key.
Direct.
I like to call you Chief.
Good evening. My name is Brian Key. I'm the Director of the Gateway School District Police Department. I've been a resident of Monroeville for 28 years. I'm here to give you a brief overview of the school district's police department and the role that the school resource officer plays in the district. We were established in August of 2016 with the assistance of Assistant Director Tim Skoog and Officer John Pawlowski. We drafted and developed policies and procedures for the department and established what role the SRO would play in the district. Tim Skoog is a retired Allegheny County Sheriff. John Pawlowski is a retired Monroeville Borough Detective and I'm a retired PA State Police Sergeant. And all 3 of us have kids in the district. Our mission is to provide a safe and secure learning environment. In order to build rapport with the students and make them feel safe, we select officers who are flexible and receptive. Open channels of communication with teachers, administrators, and parents is essential in order to identify and resolve potential problems. Our backgrounds are very diverse. We currently have 15 school resource officers. All of them are sworn police officers. The majority of the school resource officers are retired police officers, and they served in a leadership role or had a specialized position within their former agencies. If you just take a second and review the slide, you'll get a general idea of what their backgrounds are. We had professional law enforcement careers before we came on board with Gateway. In addition to what's on the slide, we have several retired state troopers, several retired Monroeville Borough officers, and we even have one officer who's currently employed full-time at the Allegheny Allegheny County Coroner's Office as a forensic investigator. Projecting a professional image and having a positive attitude is very important. So don't be misled by the word retired. All officers are required to attend and successfully complete the National Basic School Resource Officers course. The course focuses on school-based law enforcement and building relationships with the students. Our department places a great deal of emphasis on personal development. Prior to being considered for a position with our department, all applicants must attend a state or municipal police academy and have a minimum of 10 years experience. We're really fortunate that most of our officers have more than 20 years of law enforcement experience. Currently, the PA Public School Code does not require annual updates or recertification for school police officers, not school resource officers. However, all of our officers are required to attend annual updates and semi-annual firearms and weapons recertifications. If you take a look at the training we had to date, it ranges from first aid to active shooter training. The safety of our students, the safety of our kids is very important to us. Visibility is the most effective deterrent. We focus on visitors and students entering the buildings. We pay close attention to the perimeter of the buildings, and we also pay close attention to the parking areas. We also cover sports events. At least one officer is assigned to each school in our district every day. Preparation and training. The school police was established in order to protect our children from outside threats, proactively protect. Our job is to train and instruct students and staff on how to respond and react in an emergency situation. Our district uses ALICE: alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. Officer Skoog and I are certified ALICE instructors. Our responsibility is to establish and implement an action plan that can effectively handle the threat of an aggressive intruder or an active shooter. We conducted ALICE drills at each school in our district this year, and the training was different throughout the district. It was age appropriate. For example, at the high school, we had a full-blown ALICE drill, which entailed evacuate if possible, lockdown as possible, and counter in discussion. At the smaller schools, the elementary schools, we did primarily debriefings, tabletop discussions with the students to get them kind of familiar with the whole ALICE concept. District-wide safety audits. In order to ensure a safe and secure learning environment, officers are instructed to identify any issue within our schools that can be improved or enhanced. This includes soliciting information from students, faculty, and staff. Earlier this month, Officer Skoog and I attended a seminar that offered another way to respond to an active threat called Run, Hide, and Fight. The training was offered by the PA State Police. The Assistant Superintendents, Dr. Chaikin and Dr. Rossi, also attended. We stressed a team concept in reference to protecting our students. Continued safety, education, and building relationships is our foundation. I think the article on the front page of the Post-Gazette pretty much sums it up: to protect and serve schools. In closing, we're counselors, we're mentors, we're fans, we're parents, boosters, and friends who just happen to be school police officers. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Officer Key?
Sure. Brian, when we were first getting ready to think about whether or not we wanted to have a school police force, we were able to have the safety committee bring in someone, I believe it was from Butler, and talk about what they were doing out there. Right now, some of the neighboring schools are trying to copy what we're doing here at Gateway, such as Plum. Do you share some of the learnings and recommendations that you have with some of the neighboring schools regarding setting up a school police force?
We attend SRO training through NASRO. It's a National Organization for School Resource Officers. When we attend training, even though it's regional, you'll have officers from various states and different parts of this state. And we exchange ideas, email addresses. There's also a Yahoo email account that's kind of dated on AOL. So and we brainstorm and discuss any way to address ongoing school enforcement issues.
So have you had the opportunity to stand in front of the Plum School Board and offer some sort of a 5-minute presentation?
I haven't yet, but one of the current security officers was a classmate of mine in the State Police Academy.
Uh-huh.
And we worked together, and I've talked to him just about our setup. We really haven't addressed the particulars of Plum yet.
I think the reason I'm trying to get to that is because if one school has one type of trouble with one class of misbehavior, like breaking into cars or drugs or whatever, fighting, whatever it is, and then the resource officers figure out how to best tackle that, that should be shared with all the neighboring schools as well, so that we can work on this, you know, as a unit and not be in isolation. So I would love to see what you do for our kids here multiplied and replicated in a lot of the other school districts, so that all, not just our kids, all the school kids are safe.
And Nazareth they have meetings for resource officers, and they also brainstorm. So it's in place. The SRO program has been here. We're new at it, but I guess we're real new in this area. It's kind of a blessing. But networks to communicate already exist. And we still there's newsletters, there's a very detailed website, and we still get blasts about training in the area.
So these are email blasts, newsletter blasts?
Yes.
Okay.
Listen, the training we attended was at Homestead.
I like
That was offered by another agency. And it's out there. If we're exposed to it and afford the opportunity to attend, that'd be great.
Just to let you know, Mr. Ritter, myself and Mrs. Crump had an opportunity to meet with Dr. Highland, the new superintendent of Plum, and Mrs. Ressler, a school board member of Plum. And we hosted them here maybe about a month ago. And,
Elizabeth Forward is coming on
yes,
Monday.
Elizabeth
We
Forward is
spoke with
stopping by.
Franklin Regional and given them a lot of information.
And as they begin that process of organizing their own SRO, school police force, we've made Mr. Key and Mr. Skoog and everyone else available if they would like to go out and visit and talk.
That's very generous. Thank you.
And they did extend an invitation to Skoog and I for the Plum meeting. We just weren't available.
Okay, guys. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
the fine job, Officer Key. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Moving on to the agenda, we're on item 7, comments from residents on agenda items. Did anybody sign up in advance? Just state your name and address again for the record.
Good evening, school board members. I'm Susan Delaney, 1264 Catalina Drive, Monroeville, and Dr. Shore. I just wanted to make a few comments. We had 10 presentations last week, and maybe I'm just not familiar with the procedure of how it's done. And I had noticed that Mr. Bova's name was withdrawn from consideration, and then I learned on Friday that he had been selected. As I said, I was expecting more transparency. And the other thing, I think, even though she's not here, Ms. Giles and Mr. Singh, we had individuals who are not, because they are minorities and would make the school board more diverse, but all qualified at the same time. So I just had some concerns where as far as transparency in the selection and the procedure, maybe I'm just not familiar with how it's done. So can someone clarify how that was done?
Okay. Sure. Do you have any other questions before we address that? It would be best if you just address everything and then.
I could have that clarified, just
Sure.
because I want to continue to work with it, but I want to see that transparency, and I want to understand what occurred that I did not see.
So really, the only requirement, and our attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but the only requirement for us is that we nominate somebody within 30 days that has the support of the majority of the board, which would be 5 people. There is no requirement at all for any interview process. We did that in an effort to be transparent, and we did that also because we had such a large amount of interest. I think none of us expected to have 11 people plus apply for this job, and I think that we were all first really appreciative and thankful that we did have so many phenomenal candidates. So I would say that we felt as a board that we actually went above and beyond by trying to do an open presentation. We were not permitted to do private interviews according to our attorney, as Mr. Ritter had wanted, so that board members were encouraged to reach out on their own and interview the candidates, call them, have coffee with them if they had questions, and do their own homework, which was done. Mr. Bova did initially pull out, but he reconsidered. He has every right to reconsider. After further investigation by the board, it came to the attention of the board president that he felt he had a consensus for a member. And that's pretty much plain and simple the process. I think that, a lot of us wish we could, have more people on the board when we saw the quality of candidates. So the only thing I could say is we would encourage and hope that all those people will be interested in running next time when there's an actual election and a ballot.
And I do congratulate.
Well, I appreciate that, and on Saturday I apologized for kind of the additional complication that came from withdrawing. I was one of the first people to voice an interest. I knew that they were interviewing. I believed that that was a requirement to contend for the position. I knew I could not get back in time because of a work requirement in Harrisburg. I remembered then that the board could use whatever criteria it wanted for this. I do wonder if I had been here for the interview, would that have changed your feeling about not being selected?
Well, I guess I'm looking at, did you withdraw from the process or just you withdrew from being able to be here for the interview?
When I emailed to say that I would not be able to make it, so I thought that disqualified me. When it was brought to my attention that it did not, I said, well,
yeah, and as I said, there wasn't clarity with that.
Forgive me, I am definitely interested, and I had reached out myself to various board members because as my position once as a president of council in Pitcairn, we had someone resign, and we, like this board, had the opportunity to fill that position in any way we saw fit. I had people call me directly, basically making the case for themselves. I remembered that, and I did the same thing myself.
And you're no longer on the Pitcairn?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
I did also want to comment that I did note just right before the meeting began on the interview meeting began on the 17th. I wasn't made aware that Mr. Bova couldn't make it because he was unable to be here, but his name was not going to be withdrawn. I did know that.
Thank you, Bonnie. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to the board on agenda items? Agenda items.
Rabbi Barbara Simons, Temple David, and congratulations to Mr. Bova.
Thank you, ma'am.
The reason there was an open seat on the school board was because I did not stay silent while my religious head covering was mocked. And then a beautiful thing happened. School board members broke bread with the ministerium, and together we spoke of how we can move towards celebrating diversity. We were asked what traits we would seek in a candidate. And then another beautiful thing happened. People of different religions, races, and ethnicities came forward to run for the vacated seat. At the meeting on April 17th, the gallery of people reflected Monroeville. I didn't come to the meeting on Saturday because I did not know about it. And even had I could not have attended because it convened on the Jewish Sabbath. Beautiful words were used to describe the candidates who wish to work with you for the sake of our children, teachers, and staff. Terrific, having courage and self-assurance. I know what it is to be a minority. I don't know, and I can't know, of course, what it feels like to be African American or Muslim or Asian or. To keep those voices out of a decision-making board for a school district that is so blessedly diverse does not, as it was said, put an end to negativity. Because negative also signifies empty or lacking, as in negative space, or opposing, as in a film negative, in which dark is light and light is dark. Believe me, more than anyone at Gateway, I wish what had happened didn't. I am convinced that Gateway will be seen in a positive light when we truly celebrate diversity by working toward respect and equality. In healthcare, they say nothing about me without me. So too in education. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Anybody else like to address the board on agenda items? Seeing none? Section 8, minutes of the previous meetings, plural. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Rick, second by Mr. Gottman.
Oh, he's Mr. Gottman. I'm just Rick.
Did I say Rick?
I see how it's going.
Sorry.
Hot sauce.
McIntyre. Can we just do all those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Section 9, bills, financial reports, and budget transfers. This is going to be Mr. Schott.
Mr. Richard.
Take it away, Mr. Schott.
Section B, resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approve sections B1, list of bills, B2, monthly financial statements, and B3, budget transfers, as listed in Section B at the Thursday, April 26, 2018 regular board meeting.
Can I have a motion?
So
Approve
moved.
Section 1. Moved by Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Gottman. Roll call, please.
Anybody else here?
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich. Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Motion passes. Section C, we have no previously tabled items. Section D, personnel agenda.
Mrs. Crump?
Mrs. Crump.
Thank you, Mr. Rucci. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the personnel agenda items 1 through 7 as listed in Section D for the regular board meeting of Thursday, April 26, 2018. Under resignations, we do have 8 listed, 6 of which are retirees. We want to thank the following people for their dedication, for their years of service, and we want to wish them luck on this next chapter in their life. Patricia Lombard is a special education aide with 23 years of service to the district. Catherine Grieve, 21 years of service. Rosemary Napolitan, 18 years. Dan Bachman, teacher at the high school, 29 years. Karen Shiner is 21 years as a teacher, administrator, and a nurse. And Aya Bolick has 14 years as an ESL teacher, and we wish them all the best. Under leave of absences, we have a total of 10. 8 are new since the agenda from last week. We have 2 transfers listed. Under employments, we're recommending Diane Diaz and Leanna Kaufman for the vacant building secretary positions. We have a substitute custodian listed. Also under supplemental contracts, we have the advisor for the forensics, which we have not had in a while, and our head basketball coach, Alice Rogers, who is with us this evening. We're also asking for approval for the extended school year, which will start in June. You have a list of all the teachers and the paraprofessionals needed. We're also asking for approval for the early literacy program, which will also begin in June, and a list of 4 volunteers. And that concludes our agenda.
Okay, can I have a motion for all the items in Section D?
Motion.
Moved by Mrs. Warning. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lepsevich and Mr. Ritter simultaneously. Can I have a roll call when you're ready, Bonnie?
Yes, I'm ready. Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich. Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye. At this time, I would like to take a moment to introduce Mr. Ravesti.
Good evening. I'm very excited to present to you tonight Elvis Rogers. You look at his background and feel very fortunate that he will be our next Gateway head basketball coach. College, played at Wake Forest. Outstanding career. I believe he's hit some All-American teams back in the day. 8 years, I believe, playing professional ball. He has coached at Pitt. He's coached at Duquesne. He's coached at Youngstown. He was the head coach at Seton LaSalle. He was also a Gator for the past 4 years as an assistant. We interviewed extensively. Gateway is a place where a lot of coaches want to be. We're doing very well this year, obviously, with the football, with the girls' basketball, boys' baseball, girls' softball, probably going to make the playoffs. We're going to take a number of people to the state tournament, state track meet, and are achieving very well academically among the athletes. But along that line also is, we looked at all the candidates that we interviewed, and there were some very good coaches who wanted this job. And I think it's a great job to have, but at the end of the day, we felt that we had the guy well respected by the players. The kid says, you know, he's the only one who gives us discipline. I'm extremely excited. I think I already told him we're behind him, win or win. So, without further ado, Elvis Rogers.
Hi, I'm Elvis Rogers. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Glad to be part of the Gator family. Like Mr. Ribesi said, I've been here for the past 4 years with the men's basketball. My son played football here for 2 years. Just extremely happy to get things going. The kids, I think they really going to enjoy what's going to be happening, and I hope you all will be. We're a team, and like the acronym TEAM, together everyone achieves more, and we're all a team. We're going to need your help, and just like to get going, I'm excited. Thanks for electing me as new head boys basketball coach. I'm used to saying men, but I gotta get used to saying boys. Basketball coach, and any questions?
Sure, so we're wondering if you could hold a clinic for, we don't know how to dribble, we don't know how to shoot, you know.
Oh, without doubt, that can be done.
So right after soccer practice, thank you.
Soccer practice, before soccer practice.
I would like.
Style in particular you like to play?
I like to play. When I played at Wake Forest, we were up and down. And when I played in Europe, it's like that. We got up and down on the floor. I like to get up and down, and what I like to call getting early baskets. That means that I don't want to set up an offense all the time. Let's get up and get early baskets. We're going to get up and press. And like I said in the interview, it's like Nolan Rich's 40 minutes of hell. We're going from baseline to baseline. You know, that's what I like to do. And I think the kids like that because it's exciting basketball.
But are they aware of the conditioning that's going to be involved in order to play that style? Because that's going to be the 40 minutes of hell right there, is the suicides.
And work on skill development. We've got to get our skill development better than what it is, and you just got to be able to hit open shots.
I would like to congratulate Elvis. I've known him and his family for a number of years. And one thing that stood out during the interview process was, and I knew this going into the commitment to the student athlete. And that has always been paramount to your belief, and it's instrumental in what we do here at Gateway.
Elvis, I wish you the best of luck. Anything you need, please feel free to reach out to us.
Let's see what I need. You give me someone who can knock down 3 points and you're a big guy.
That's your job.
I just want to also congratulate you, Coach. I was fortunate enough to sit in on the final interview with you and one other candidate. I'm sure you're aware of the competition you were up against in that final interview.
Yes.
The other gentleman had quite a pedigree, quite a resume, and I think what you've done here in the last 4 years and what you've been able to build relationship-wise with the kids, and you're just overflowing positive attitude and energy that comes off you, I think is what won you the job in that room. So I'm looking forward to see what you can do with this team over the next couple of years. So.
I am too. I am also.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations. We're very happy to have you aboard.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Ribesi, for taking the time.
Thank you.
All right, Section E, conferences and conventions. Dr. Chakey.
Thank you, Ms. Rucci. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves and authorizes the following conferences and conventions as listed in Section E.
4, do I have a motion to approve E, Section 1? Mr. Gottman?
Second.
Mr. McIntyre? Roll call, Bonnie.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Motion passes. Section F, administrative resolutions.
Okay, we'll begin with Dr. Rossi, but we'll be bouncing back and forth between Mr. Mr. Schott, Dr. Rossi, and Dr. Shaky. I know.
We have several items in section F. The first one is 30-day public display for the following textbooks and curriculum that are under consideration.
All right, who has item 2?
Mr. Schott?
Next item is to approve the use of the ATX PBRN electronic system by East Suburban Sports Medicine Center for the tracking of sports-related injuries and treatments. The information will be used for anonymized research as outlined in Exhibits A and A.1.
Number 3, Mr. Schott?
Next item is to approve a one-year agreement with ML, it's for Master Library Schedules, for software to be used for facility rentals in the amount of $3,600 as depicted in Exhibit B.
CCAC dual enrollment, Dr. Shaky?
Item number 4 is CCAC dual enrollment programs agreement.
Item number 5, Mrs. Baumgart?
Thank you, Dr. Short. Item number 5, Special Education School Services Agreement. Approve the school services agreement between the Gateway School District and AOT, Inc., Associated Occupational Therapists, Inc., as depicted in Exhibit D.
Thank you. Dr. Shaky?
We also have 2 overnight excursions, one with the International Sea Perch Competition and one with the 2018 PA Junior Classical League.
Dr. Rossi, student teachers?
We have student teachers for the fall of 2018. We have 4 as listed.
Facility agreements, Mr. Schott?
We have 2 items listed, the first being the Nitro Fast Pitch and the second being the WPA Beekeepers Seminar.
Award of bids?
Yep. Next item, approve the award of the bids for various types of school supplies bid by the district for the 18-19 fiscal year, summarized by category below and as depicted in Exhibit E. Next item is to approve the continued appointment of Zelm Koski Axelrod LLC as the district's local auditor to perform the required local auditing services and to issue the required audit reports for the following 3 fiscal years at the following fees. 18-19, $24,480. 19-20, $24,970. 2021, $25,470. Also as depicted in Exhibit F. Next item is to approve the continuation of the lease agreement with the Allegheny Intermediate Unit Number 3 Pre-K Counts Program for the lease of 1 classroom located at the Mossai Middle School for the period of July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2020, in the total amount of $23,400 during the 2 fiscal years, 18-19, 19-20, and that is depicted in Exhibit G. Next item is to approve the continuation of the lease agreement with the Allegheny Intermediate Unit Number 3 Head Start Program for the lease of 1 classroom located at Evergreen Elementary School for the period of July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2020, in the total amount of $26,494 for the 2 fiscal years, 18-19 and 19-20, and that is depicted in Exhibit H. Next item is to approve the extension of the 2 rental contracts between Mr. John and the district to provide sanitation services at the Gateway Middle School and the Gateway Campus Boulevard locations for the rental of 3 sanitation units in the total monthly amount of $135 per sanitation unit during the 2018 calendar year, and that's depicted in Exhibit I. Next item is to approve the capital reserve fund budget in the projected amount of $1,812,000 for the various capital repair improvement projects contained in the budget. The advertisement of requests for proposals for professional capital-related services is applicable, and the advertisement of bids for capital projects is applicable to be completed during the 18-19 fiscal year, and that budget is detailed and depicted in Exhibit J. Next item is to approve the district's purchase and payment of the following 2 new district vehicles and applicable related accessories during the 17-18 fiscal year. That's comprised of a new Ford truck and a new Ford Transit 10-passenger van through Day Fleet Commercial Sales. The cost of the truck, $29,000. The passenger van, $27,000. Through Murray Audio Electric and Radio Communications for the truck, a Meyer snowplow, Diamond Tread aluminum topside truck box, power inverter for the truck, and also from Protect Spray Liners for the truck, a spray and bed liner. Grand total of all equipment to be purchased in the amount of $64,597.33.
Next item.
Next item is to approve the proposed 18-19 school year calendar as depicted in Exhibit K. Next item is to approve revisions to the dates of the remaining 2018 school board meetings as depicted in Exhibit L. And the final item, and again, I'm sorry, item before and that item were actually added after study session agenda. They're both asterisk there. Just wanted to note that, and actually the item before regarding school calendar. But the final remaining item is to approve the purchase of a new Gateway High School Stadium scoreboard as budgeted for in the Capital Reserve Fund budget, and the projected total amount of approximately $300,000 from OES Inc. through the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance, or NCPA contract, to be installed and completed during the 2018-2019 fiscal year, as depicted in Exhibit M.
Okay, that's a long section, so
Long section.
we'll definitely have some discussion, but how about if I seek a motion to approve the entire section F in a second, and then we can have discussion.
I was actually going to try and pull one or two aside. In particular, item 9, I was going to actually look to table that so we can get Mr. Bova up to speed before he votes on a $1.8 million budget item for this upcoming budget.
We can,
You know what I mean?
we can modify the motion. Can I just get a motion, and then we can actually open up for discussion?
That's fine, so moved.
Okay. Second by Mrs. Warning. Discussion. Mr. McIntyre.
All right, I think to start off, I would like to, first, I'm not sure how you go about this, but I want to table item number 9.
That's how you do it. You
Okay.
say, make a motion.
I make a motion to table item 9
So there's no-
in an effort to have Mr. Bova get up to speed before we actually vote on something this big.
Is that school supplies?
No, I'm sorry, 14. My Roman numeral.
I was wondering why.
I'm
you wanted
sorry.
to table
I
pencils and
apologize.
Post-its.
I do.
Which item?
14, the 1.8 capital repair.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now there's no discussion on the
No.
motion to table. So roll
Roll
call.
call.
Was that second by Brian?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Hang on. Number 14. Okay. Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
No.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Motion carries to table.
May we have an opportunity to hear from Mr. Shutt, the impact of the table?
Yeah, that's essentially going to hold up all of our projects. Just want to put that out there. I mean, even our scoreboard, that's another resolution on here as well this evening. We're going to be opening bids May 7th for the wall. That's another project that's on here. I mean, the vote's been taken already, so.
No, that's right.
I mean,
That would have been good to hear before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
always untable it, so I'm going to make a friendly amendment to the table concept, and that is, if Mr. Bova wanted to, he is free to do what's called an abstain. In other words, he hasn't had time to review all this. He could abstain, and the rest of the board who has had time to review all this, we might have enough votes to cause it to be able to pass, which would allow Mr. Schott to do the work that he needs to get done, right?
That's correct. Exactly.
Now, within this, can we discuss the scoreboard?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's a separate item, so, yes.
It is a separate item, but it's one that's on my list of things to discuss as well.
So let me finish asking Rick, does that seem reasonable for us to try to
Oh,
untable it
of course.
and then to
Again,
offer
my
the op?
entire goal was to not have
We
Mr.
don't
Bova
want to put pressure on
vote on a
someone.
$1.8 million item that he's just now laying
If he's
eyes on.
comfortable with that, then he's free to abstain.
Correct.
That would give, it's an easy way to do it.
course.
So you had a question about?
Scoreboard.
Well, we have a
We have to
motion to
untable.
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 Well, I didn't make it yet.
No,
I'm
we
just
didn't make the
asking, if that would be acceptable to Rick. And so Rick
Yeah.
said yes. So now
All right.
I'm going to formally make a motion to untable that item.
Is there a second to untable?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion is untabled for discussion. All right.
All right, scoreboard, you want to talk about that, Jack?
Well, yeah, I don't, is there a problem with the existing scoreboard? I don't want it
Yeah.
to become a big deal. What is
I
it?
think Mr. Shaw is prepared to discuss the scoreboard. Is that correct?
We can actually defer to
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown and Mr. Brown.
Miko.
Go ahead, Bob, if you want to begin.
The scoreboard right now,
The microphone, Mr. Brown.
Go ahead, Mikey, you might as well join him up there.
Mr. Bova, right at the moment, our scoreboard has been in decay for years. We're patching it together. It is breaking down constantly. We're never sure if it's going to work that day. The parts are just old. The scoreboard now is going on, I think, 12 years.
2003 or 2002.
So it's
16
15,
years.
16 years old. The technology is old. Getting parts for it are very difficult. It's just well past its life. So we've been looking into this. If Mr. Rivesti was here, he would also attest to the anxiety that we all go through before every event, hoping it's going to get through the event in one piece, which quite often is not the case. So we've been looking at this for a couple years. We pushed it off last year. It is now really time to move forward with this. We're fearful it will not make it through the season, if it even gets up and running.
And I don't want you to have to backtrack too far, but were there other options? $300,000 just seems like an extraordinary amount of money to keep track of a
That's
football game.
kind of the market of the scoreboards. And what we've been looking at is not just what you see out there now. The new technology is video boards with advertising spaces that in the market area, we are really right kind of towards the bottom end of it, to be honest, price-wise. Looking at all our different options, it's just an expensive item that is out there. Also with this, the sale of advertising spaces over the next 5 to 10 years, we're looking at to have it paid for. So it's not completely a cost that the district's going to burden. It will be initially, that we have to put out there and then sell the spaces.
You base that expectation on what?
On what's going on in our area. North Allegheny is one big one. Theirs is paid for completely by sponsors. Theirs was pushing the $500,000 mark.
Franklin Regional.
Franklin Regional, West Allegheny, everyone that, these folks have been doing, and we've looked at multiple vendors as well for this. That is where this all comes from. Franklin's a big one. Theirs is paid for, I believe.
Norwin.
Norwin just put in a baseball one. So that's really, the price tag is really a little misleading because we do have to put the money out up front and then recoup it.
So have you spoken to the folks who will be the recoupers? Has that conversation begun? Or?
Yes, it has. I have confirmation.
By the way, I don't think recoupers is an idea. I'm just saying.
Of
We like it too.
one major business located very near to the high school that has an interest in becoming the sponsor.
And did we actually go out with a bid, like a formal bid, and then go through that process for the scoreboard?
The folks that we've spoke to, there's very few in the whole country, to be honest. There's two major ones. They are the ones that we have worked with very closely, the Buildings and Grounds Committee, as well as Dr. Short, myself, Mr. Mike Brown. There's really only two key players, and they're all a co-stars type operation.
Say this is actually through the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance contract, so they go out and procure the vendors on their own.
Yeah, so that's how we went. There's just not a whole lot of them out there.
All right, yeah, I think we have some of the same apprehensions, Mr. Bova. I like the idea that we, potential sponsors coming and helping to offset, hopefully, most of this $300,000. And I understand that there's a time constraint in trying to get this done for the beginning of next football season.
That's correct.
I would feel a lot more confident in voting yes to pass this if we had somebody at the table ready to put that money down for the sponsorship before we allocate $300,000 of a budget that we're already looking to try and trim and balance out here. Like I said, I just feel a lot more confident if we had somebody already ready to offer that money before we pull the trigger.
Michael, did you try to use the scoreboard recently?
Well, Mike is going up there. I'm just going to interrupt real quick. It's not a scoreboard for just football. Soccer, lacrosse, track, band, they will all be using the scoreboard. So it's affiliated for all the sports. It's just not a football field scoreboard. Where Dr. Short has suggested it be moved to is at the tennis courts. So the back of that, the scoreboard will be one major sponsor, which we're almost positive we have the sponsor, which will be the big payee.
So the most recent time I interacted with the scoreboard, which was a few weeks ago during the National Student Walkout for gun violence, we attempted to use the scoreboard as a countdown clock, and we actually had trouble getting it on. I don't actually believe we got it working the way we want. We had a workaround where we kind of were triggering every minute. We were manually pressing the button to count it down, but even then there was a problem. Now, and beyond the scoreboard too, the wiring is decaying. So it's something you can hear if you're in the stands or in the press box. There's like a pulsing sound. It's actually the scoreboard signaling cables leaking out into the audio system. So it's actually interfering with other components in the press box.
So hypothetically, if the unit malfunctioned at the opening day football game, what would you be able to do to have the game?
We'd go back to the 1960 flip card system where we'd be counting the score and holding it up. Or
yeah. We will troubleshoot the best we can. I mean, but roughly all we can do for the game is to turn everything off, turn it back on, unplug everything, plug it in. If that doesn't work, yeah, just old school hand signals.
Typically, the referees do manually have their own stopwatch that they carry to operate a game, but there would be nothing visual on the scoreboard.
I think what really brought this all to light was we had a playoff game here for soccer, and the scoreboard malfunctioned. And the game had to be stopped for a while till they got it working again. So this is why it has been looked into, this year now, that it needed to be done.
Is it correct that you guys had a detailed discussion about this at the budget committee meeting recently?
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody who wasn't able to attend that meeting, can you just give us maybe a brief overview of how much the advertising will cost, so it would help us to understand how many sponsors are really required to pay for this?
We really didn't set an amount at that time, given that this situation with this scoreboard being an LED monitor type video board would be different. We've talked to the vendors about the number of displays that would be an opportunity for the district. A number of school districts have 4 displays, top and bottom, 2 on each side. Some have on the side of the scoreboard up to 8 or 9, including the back area, which with our current setup is non-existent, given that it's on the other side of the field. So we determined that the potential is there for a number of major sponsors that we've had some cooperations with in the past who have donated some significant amount of money to this district. And we've reached out to them. We've had a confirmation of one major business in the area that I mentioned. I'm not ready to disclose that at this point in time. That would like to begin to have discussions with us.
And the lifetime of the scoreboard is?
Our last one was
16 years.
And your estimate of having it paid off with sponsors is?
Technology.
With sponsors, I mean, ideally, we would like to have that paid off in 5 years.
Mr. Short, if I may, when we installed the new football field and scoreboard at the time, there was a number of sponsors
That is correct.
approached us. And at the time, the
The
school
district, yes, declined. At that point in time, it was the determination, as was many other school districts, that they did not want advertising on district property. That has since changed. Money is difficult to come by, and
in fact, you can
Cover the
actually
high
have the
school, as far
sponsor
as I'm
on,
concerned.
on your turf field now.
yes, that is
You could
correct.
actually put sponsors
You're
on
allowed to
your
put
field you
logos
weren't
and
allowed
stencils
before.
and everything else. So.
Does anybody have
I have
additional questions?
2 questions. All right, first one, since I can't remember the exact layout, if we relocate this to by the tennis courts, will that cause us to have to take out the tennis courts at all?
No.
No.
Actually, if where it is located now, you have to look hard to the right to view it. With the field being in front of you, you really have to kind of go out of your way to see the scoreboard. The new location selected is more of the far left corner, and it is outside of the tennis court area, in the grass area, between the track and the tennis courts. It's actually a better location for us to service, to have trucks, to be able to utilize a backside billboard, with actually just increases our advertising value. And it allows everybody in the stands to see it.
And those of us who occasionally have to work in that press box, I don't have to lean out the window
Exactly.
to actually
And so
see the
you're familiar
scoreboard.
with
Really
the
have to lean out,
location.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The location of it.
And with the new video type boards, I mean, this is a very high-tech board where Myco has the ability to pretty much do anything you want, from instant replays, other videos, even commercials if we wanted. You know, there's,
It's one of the unique features of a video board is if we have a sponsorship. If they run commercials on TV, we're able to take those commercials and really put those on our video board in between quarters or halves for soccer
and
matches
that's
or whatever.
just football or soccer. You know, we do a lot of band competition items here. That board would be used much more than anybody, I think, ever anticipated prior to the type of technology that's out there today. You know, we just didn't have that 15, 16 years ago. We had a scoreboard. Now we have a tool that
Yes.
the district can use.
So we're saying we feel confident that this will be paid for, it'll pay for itself in 5 years.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. I understand that's
I
the goal.
can't promise you anything.
I'm not looking for a promise, but I'm, you know,
You know, based on
that's a
the
mighty,
history
that's a
of
pretty
other
good goal.
School districts, you know, it appears to be very doable.
If we were attempting to replace this with old technology like we have now, first of all, does such a thing exist? Is there even such an option?
Well, you can just do a scoreboard. Yes.
See, they never used to do this
They're-
for scoreboard. It
They're,
was just a
well,
scoreboard.
because
So
now
what would
they're
that
quite a
roughly-
bit more than that, but yes, you can.
And so what would something like that cost if someone was choosing to just do a
Just,
scoreboard?
yeah, your standard clock.
We
score,
have that
timeouts.
breakdown. I don't recall that exact number off the top of
You have
my
a-
head.
A
because-
ballpark figure even?
I don't know if you recall
I
it,
don't
because
know.
there's a lot of numbers that made it up. I'd have to look that up. I have it. We all have it, actually, and we have those numbers, but I wouldn't want to guess at what that is off the top of my head.
I think it's safe to say it'd be considerably less than $300,000.
Yes.
Right, but with no opportunity to generate any revenue. So
Correct.
it's kind of
Correct.
apples and oranges, I get it. But like 50,000, you think, or?
Oh, no, it's quite a bit more than that.
Oh, is that right? So
Yeah.
even the bare bones replacement would be close to $100,000.
That's probably realistic.
Yeah, okay.
So if we paid it off in 5 years and then we had advertising for an additional 10,
Now it's
then we can actually
generating
be generating
income.
revenue.
I have one more question. So, kind of like this idea of this new LED board with the ability to have the advertisements and the commercials. In terms of using the board for the instant replays or even live shots, with the cameras that we have now, would there be any additional cost to have the replays to be put onto the board?
Yeah, so there will be some equipment needed for that. Some of that is included in the scoreboard proposal, and some of that's already planned for next year's budget, because that was the next phase of our studio upgrades. The cameras for the studios can be used for football games, soccer games, everything up there. So you're right, there will be some upgrades needed, but that's being planned in the budget.
Okay.
Does that include an upgrade on these cameras? Because I've tried to watch this. I just look like a gray blob in the corner.
Yeah, we did make some enhancements. So
I'm worse in HD though, so I think I actually appreciate the current
we did make some
technology.
adjustments. So take a look at this meeting's recording and see.
Right.
How it works.
Does that
Thank you.
include the sound too,
Yes.
of this room?
Yes. Oh, in this room?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant
The microphones.
The studio
Yeah,
in the high school. So everything in the high school, the studio, the cameras for the field, and the sound system in the press box.
What do we need to do with this room? Because we get complaints about the video going out and also the sound being received on TVs at home.
Yeah. We started to get some quotes, which we kind of held off on because of the cost for redoing the cable installation in this area. I'll get those numbers again and present it.
All right, thank you.
I just want to make one comment. Everybody's talking about the instant replay. That would be happening on, but we just can't put any controversial replays up there.
It would help the officials at all.
No, we can't show anything like that. No.
Darn.
Double check, Mr. Auguste checked, double check all that.
So one last question. I assume this thing is configurable in a way that, like, there could be things about, like, student, student achievements beyond sports. Could it be running all the time, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, someone like this young lady who was here tonight.
If we had a need, absolutely. Obviously you're not gonna run anything unless you have somebody watching it. But yes, you can put pretty much anything that they develop into.
Okay.
It's a large TV screen.
And understand that currently we do have a number of students that are involved in video taping or filming the games in the past. And typically I see an average of 10 to maybe 15 students upstairs in the press box working the cameras.
We would have ability, which we don't have now, that even with graduation coming.
Mm-hmm.
We try to do some things on our board now, and we struggle just to get the years on there. We can show the up-close view of every child walking to the podium, or, where you can actually really see them. There's truly a lot of things that would benefit the district other than just the sporting events.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, back to section F. Is there any questions or discussion on any of the other items?
Item 15, XV, that is 15, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I couldn't read my Roman numerals earlier, Scotty. I needed you here. Just to confirm, this is all budgeted money. This isn't new money being spent, correct? Okay.
We had a line item budgeted that we will not be utilizing, so we're able to utilize it to make this purchase, to keep these items from going into next year's 18-19 fiscal year budget.
Sorry, I just wanted to make that clear to everybody.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? No. Do you still request me to pull out any items for the vote, Mr. McIntyre?
I'm a little bit hung up on the scoreboard, to be honest with you.
Okay. Why don't we seek a motion to approve items, all of the items with the exception of, okay, we'll vote on the school board first. Let's have a motion to approve item 14,
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
seconded by Mr. Williams.
Is it 18?
It's 18.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Valerie.
No, this is a vote to approve, Brian, for the scoreboard.
Scoreboard, you're right. I'm sorry, Bonnie. It's
Okay.
item 18.
18, I gotcha.
It's contagious.
Okay.
Roll call whenever you're ready.
Mr. McIntyre.
No.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
No?
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, I would like to seek a motion to approve the remaining Roman numerals in section F.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Williams, second by Mr. Gottman. We had discussion on all the items already.
Was there,
Is there additional discussion?
Yeah, just one,
Yes,
number
sir.
one, the 30-day public display of the books. Isn't it true, Bonnie, that the books will be available for display in this room so the public can come
Actually,
up?
they're in the
They're
next
right in
room
the,
over.
next room over. So
Yes.
listen, for the next 30 days, just come sign in here and you can take a look at those books.
They're on display.
That's all.
Any additional discussion, questions for the remaining items? Seeing none, roll call, Bonnie.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Abstain, please.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Right.
Section G, resolutions presented by board members. I'll have to get there. Mr. Lepsevich, you're up. Item 1. Last page. I want you to read your motion. Item 1, Section G.
Purchase of 60 athletic knit brand jerseys, 30 home, 30 away, at $80 purchase of 60 I'm going backwards, at $80 each for a total of $4,800 for the Gateway Hockey Club team from the House of Hockey as disseminated in Exhibit A.
And also item B. was
Item
added.
B, Gateway Bowling Club, purchase of 25 Nike brand jerseys at $30.45 each for the total of $761.25 for the Gateway Bowling Club team from Century Sports Incorporated as disseminated in Exhibit B.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Well, John got it first.
Seconded by Mr. Ritter. Discussion?
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Should these be maybe separated into two different resolutions? Because adding the Gateway Bowling Club money pushes this into the transparency clause,
7-day, 14-day.
right? So that requires a supermajority rather than a simple majority.
Yeah, you're right about that, Mr. McIntyre.
So, I mean, I think we can vote on it as a whole, but that pushes it into, you're gonna need the extra votes.
Yeah.
So,
For
I mean, it's not my
transparency,
resolution,
I
so.
understand. Well, it was added as a result of the discussion
Right.
during the study session. It was requested to cover both of the club sports teams, because we have two. So it was added for that reason, but
Does
he
it
is right.
fall within those
It doesn't
days?
fall within the dates. I don't think that it was added, does it, Mrs. Isha?
The 7-day rule, what day did we add this on? I don't recall the exact date we added it on. I don't know if it was on there last Friday.
Is there any kind of time constraint with the bowling team for the jerseys?
I don't think there's a time
Like, could we maybe not make that an action item tonight?
So a
but
motion to
maybe-
table the bowling club jerseys until next session.
That way we're above board on the transparency. We can all have time to look at it.
Motion to table, please, somebody?
So moved.
Second.
Unless, John, you're not going to untable it in 30 seconds, are you? All right.
We never know.
All right, so shall we vote on tabling item B, please, the bowling club jerseys?
One moment, please. Okay. Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning? Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Boba?
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Yes. Motion carries.
Motion carries.
All right, I seek a motion to approve 1A, purchase of Gateway Hockey Club jerseys. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lepsevich. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Williams. Roll call when you're ready, Bonnie.
Are we going to discuss?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Discussion.
Anybody have anything on it? It's something that I've spoken with a few other board members about. My only concern about this is I don't want this to become a trend with the hockey club. I understand the expense and that their budget is extensive. Hockey's a very, very expensive sport. There's ice time, paying the referees. It adds up very quickly. I've received some assurances, and I think is what pushed me forward to feeling comfortable to approving this, that the club's going to do a better job in the future of allocating money each year by way of maybe like a buyback jersey program where the kids leave and buy the jerseys and take it with them, and then that leaves money for the next kids to buy new jerseys. That way we're not holding all the jerseys for 10, 12 years, and then they all look cruddy all at once. Hopefully they're going to move forward in saving some money every year and allocating that to the jersey replacements, and then we never get into this having to buy 60 jerseys all at once issue again. So
Yeah,
that's all.
the plan that was communicated to me was exactly what Mr. McIntyre said, that the seniors would have the option to buy out their jerseys. That way, there would be a repurchase of approximately, 3 to 6 jerseys on an annual basis. And then the jerseys that were recommended by Mr. Ravesti and the House of Hockey were ones that don't go away. The company sustains the same design. In fact, they could still purchase the same design of the jersey that they purchased 12 years ago. So I think that would address those concerns.
Okay, so then it's the same jersey design as what we have.
They don't have to pick it, but if they want to, they can. That's what I'm saying, it's still there. It's
Well,
that
if we
long-term
change
of
it,
a-
do we have to change the jersey hanging down at the arena?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So then we got to buy another
Well,
jersey.
maybe they can fundraise for that. Any other discussion?
Will there be someone that's designated to collect the jerseys at the end of the season, since we have an equipment manager, but since it's not a sport, it's a club? Is that
Val,
what they-
you need a microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry, they didn't give me one tonight.
Oh.
Telling me
Yes.
something, isn't it?
In the hockey club, there's a person in charge of the roster, which
Okay.
they're in charge of rostering all the individuals on the team with the PIHL organization, and part of the job of that board position in the hockey club is passing out and collecting jerseys.
Okay, that's good.
Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call, Bunny?
Dr. Kalkstein?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
George?
Hell, yeah.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Abstain.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, we're on section 15, comments from residents on non-agenda items. Is there anybody here who wishes to address the board on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we're on to reports. Dr. Short, you're first.
Thank you. Mrs. Cerucci, just want to thank our students, staff, administrators. We're wrapping up the PSSAs, and I've been around to all the buildings, and very well organized. The kids are doing a wonderful job, and we're excited about the possibilities of the scores raising more significantly than they currently are for next school year. For our high school, they're going to be moving into the Keystone exams in the next 30 days. So from all indications and speaking with Dr. Shaky, everyone is ready and prepared for those. Also, next coming month, Gateway School District is hosting the Forbes Road Area Vocational Technical ceremony, graduation ceremony on I believe, Wednesday, May 23rd. So everyone's invited to our Robert A. Reed Center for Performing Arts, where the ceremony will be held. Also, our graduation ceremony is set for June 30th.
No.
Or, I'm sorry, May.
Wait, that's not right.
That's right. I'm in June already. May 30th, and the rain date would be the 31st. So it is coming up, and that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Dr. Shaky.
Nothing at this time.
Mrs. Bungart. Sorry.
Thank you, Mrs. I just want to take a moment, and I'd like to congratulate Patricia, Kathy, and Rosemary and Tricia, all from the Special Education Department, who are retiring, and I'd like to thank them for all their years of service. So, thank you.
Dr. Rossi.
Sure, we have, just wanted to announce we have a tentative date for curriculum night. It'll be May 16th at 6 o'clock, and that'll be before the board meeting.
May 16th, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, right here.
Mr. Schott.
Thank you. I just want to remind everyone our next scheduled Budget and Finance Committee meeting is Tuesday, May 8th at 6 p.m. in the Gateway High School LGI.
Thank you. Mrs. Crump.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Mr. Ritter.
Sure, a couple things. Let's go to the top here. The PSBA, Pennsylvania School Board Association Advocacy Day, was held about 2 weeks ago. I was unable to attend on our behalf. I was sick. I apologize. Number 2, the weather is improving for outdoor activities, tennis, track, lacrosse, baseball, cookouts, all these activities. So finally the snow is over. Number 3, the musical Fiddler on the Roof. Wow. Wow. Go see it. Grab anybody and go. Tevyev is just delightful. Excellent writing, excellent acting, very, very good singing. It's going to be held Saturday and Sunday, so just go out there, get the tickets, and go. Number 4, the National Day of Prayer is going to be held again. It's always the first Thursday in May of every year. This year is May 3rd. It will be at the Monroeville Community Park. Pavilion 4, there will be a light supper at 5:30. Then people will jointly stand before the Lord in humble adoration and veneration. That begins at 6:30, and then some focused intercession. Some of it, I hope, would be for the school children as well. Focused intercession begins at 7 o'clock, concluding promptly at 8 with the playing of taps. Next, the primary election will be held on May 15th this year, May 15th. Next, there's an intergovernmental meeting that will be held on May 14th in the boardroom at 6:30 with the 360 group, and Monroeville's Mayor Graysock will be in attendance. Next, the Senate Education Committee recently offered what's called Senate Bill 2. This is
Excuse me, Mr. Ritter.
That intergovernmental meeting is an executive.
Okay.
Because it'll be dealing with specifics about the potential real estate value and the sale of the property.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, the Senate Education Committee recently offered Senate Bill 2, Pennsylvania State's Education Savings Account Vouchers. This is a program that collects tax money from taxpayers and applies it toward the education of students in public schools, private schools, and towards vendors. So that bill got tabled, so to speak. So it's still up in the air. If you have any input, you can provide it to me, and I can forward it to the folks in Harrisburg. It's the ESA, Education Savings Account Vouchers. Number 4, the video. Mike O'Brown is to be commended for terrific work that he did with Mr. Ritter on adjustments to the videos. The microphone at the podium was inadvertently getting covered up with the sign-in sheet, so it was very difficult for people to speak and hear what was going on at home. Something as simple as that was the reason. Also, he switched to a gooseneck or an elevated mic rather than repurposing a mic from the Gateway High School auditorium, so that's being improved. Number 4, next, the screen, when it lights up behind the speaker, performs a white balance overburn to the camera. So the screen has to be darkened either with black or turned off. So that needs to be coordinated via training with who's ever using the camera downstairs to record this. Next, we broadcast in what's called standard definition rather than high definition using these cameras. So you'll be able to see that some cameras need to be tuned a little bit and synchronized with what's going on downstairs because the monitors that they use downstairs has a different the colors look good on those monitors, but when it gets broadcast on TV, it looks all washed out. So they had to synchronize and tune and calibrate what was actually occurring on the television broadcast with what the monitors were displaying. So all of that to say, wow, Maiko, good job. Thank you for making it easier for people to watch what goes on here in these rooms and to participate remotely. Last one, HIMSS, Health Information Management Systems Society Advocacy Day is going to be held this year on April 30th and May 1st. One of the topics of discussion will be the opioid crisis here in Pennsylvania. I am going to be hosting one of the sessions with some of the leaders in Pennsylvania, and I'm going to raise the issue of opioids versus schools. What can be done to keep the opioids out? How can we use health information technology to do better surveillance and recovery and identification, care for the children, keeping the Narcan supply up to date? All those uses of health information technology we're going to talk about on April 30th and May 1st. So I think that's all I have. Yes, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for that wealth of information. I'm going to mix it up and jump over to Dr. Kalkstein. You have anything?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to take a minute to officially congratulate and welcome Mr. Jack Bova to the school board. I know he will be a great asset to this district. He's proven that with his years of dedicated service on Pitcairn Council. With that being said, I couldn't be happier with the team that we have assembled here. I have complete faith in everybody at this table, administration included. And I'm looking forward to continuing to work with everybody in Advanced Gateway. Thank you.
Mr. Gottman.
Yeah, I'll try to make this really quick. Three things. One, I want to congratulate Mr. Bachman for his career as our phys ed teacher. He was one of my phys ed teachers here in high school, and I believe with Mr. Kalkstein as well. He was a fantastic teacher, and probably the reason why every time I hear the song Staying Alive come on, I jump out and do the Travolta hustle. Number two, I actually want to mention this last week, but I could do it this week. I think earlier this month or the end of March, there was an exhibit going on at the Gateway Middle School with the history class. Which teacher, Ms. Rucci, was hosting that?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
Sorry, I lost the email that had the invitation in it.
I'll tell you. Keep talking.
Okay, so what it was members of a history class.
Mr. Bowles.
Sorry?
Mr. Bowles? Was it Mr. Bowles? This is not the right teacher. Now I'm going to give credit to the wrong teacher.
Oh.
Keep talking.
Okay, so what they did was select students did a presentation on ancient Rome. They had different sections, one for weapons, food, clothing, buildings. And they incorporated our technology with it too. So not only did they have photographs and three-dimensional models, they used, similar to the Oculus program that you have on your phones for virtual reality, to actually put you in the middle of the Coliseum, in the middle of a museum, and during a chariot race. So instead of just looking at pictures, you got to be in it and see how grand and huge some of these buildings were. They also baked some foods that they had in the Roman times, of course up to our health standards now, but it was really delicious. Got to sample the soups, the breads, and in lieu of wine, they had to go with grape juice for obvious reasons. But it was a really fun night, and I want to congratulate them and hope that they do that again in the future. And always our artwork behind me, selections from the sixth graders. We have a couple different things. We have an OP art, we have self-portraits, and their own versions of mythological creatures.
Thank you.
That's all.
Mr. Williams.
I'd just like to apologize for being late and thank the board and you for filling in for me. I had a Forbes VOTEC meeting tonight, so we could have a quorum over there and meet. And I'd also like to welcome Mr. Bova to the school board and look forward to working with him. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre.
Yeah, just to be completely redundant, again, congratulations, Jack. You were one of the first people to reach out to me, and from for the minute I sat down with you, felt like you were somebody that I could just carry a conversation with. And I've watched your career in Pitcairn, and I'm looking forward to working with you, and I think the whole board is excited about the team we have together. So, thank you for showing your interest, and That's about all I have tonight, other than I'm looking forward to Fiddler on the Roof tomorrow afternoon. So I'm not looking forward to sitting in those seats for that experience. Or I'm sorry, Saturday afternoon. You know, I'm 6'6" with a few extra pounds on me. So those kind of events tend to be a little bit torturous after about an hour. But I'm looking forward to it. So thank you.
Mr. Lapsovich.
Thank you. I have a couple of things. I was appointed the chair of Buildings and Grounds in the last 2 weeks, taking over my colleague that had to retire or resign. And me and Mr. Brown and Val Warning spent endless hours on the catching up, see everything was in place and everything. And I have to thank Mr. Brown for the hours you spend with me. But here's a few things that we have right now. Interior lighting at the high school is 95% completed. The rebates for the 4 elementary schools and exterior lighting project of the district have been submitted. We will receive under $4,000 over the next 4 years. Then we will submit the high school data once the project is completed. The water conservation project has been completed at the elementary schools. And the pre-construction meeting for the stadium retaining wall was held Tuesday. The bid deadline and opening will be held on Monday, May 7th at 1:30. Also, I was at a safety meeting the other day, and I was concerned about the Narcan, so I asked the head nurse, Kathy Bishop, about recirculating it, how long, what's the shelf life on the Narcan. And she said, well, they were going to exchange it out in May or June of this year because it's good for 3 or 4 years, but the Narcan we got was already had shelf life. So the new Narcan we are going to receive from the hospital is going to be new. It's going to be good for 3 or 4 years then. So that's going to take place in June of this year. And that's about it. And I would like to honorably, how can I put this? Honor you being on our school board, Mr. Bova.
Thank you.
Mrs. Warning.
Just a couple of things. First off, I just want to thank Mr. Key, Mr. Scoogs for their presentation this evening. It lets the community know what Gateway is all about, what we're doing, you know, for the safety of our students, for the safety of our staff, for our spring sports. They're doing very well once they're able to get out there and do something. As Mr. Avesti said, we're going to have several representatives going to states. Baseball team looks like that they will be going to playoffs, and they're doing very well. Volleyball, they're doing well. Mr. Lapsovich and I went up there the other evening. It was the first opportunity we had to see them, and you've never seen a bunch of kids having a good time, and that's what the sports is all about. You know, they're practicing hard, they're, you know, really into it, but they're having a really good time. And I just love seeing kids enjoying what they're doing. To everyone watching, as of June 1st, the high school track stadium will be closed, so no one will be able to walk the track. The wall will be started then, and we can't have anybody in there for safety purposes. So Gateway Middle will be open for anybody that needs to be walking the track. Also, I just came from a meeting from Sunrise, the liaison for over there. They are having their annual 5K walk for Sunrise. It will be Sunday, May 20th. More information to come. They will need help if anybody is willing to volunteer. There will be Chinese auctions, a lot of things for the kids that they're doing to fundraise to support things that they need at the school. So everybody is welcome there. And June 5th will be their graduation at Sunrise, and everyone is welcome. And at that, that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Bova.
Well, thanks. Mr. Ritter said pretty much everything I was going to say, remarkably enough. It's like he looked right on my sheet. So I just want to thank everyone for their support. I'm very excited about working with this school board and for this opportunity, and I look forward to the next, whatever it is, 18, 19 months together, and Already I've had lots of folks reaching out to me, school teachers, which is pretty gratifying. Old school board members offering their the benefit of their experience and their agendas. So it's going to be interesting for sure, and I'm very excited about it. So thank you all.
It's like giving birth. I mean, it's fun, it's exciting, it's different, it's painful, and before you know it, it's over, Jack.
Well, you might know more about giving birth than me, Mr. Ritter, so I'm going to set that metaphor aside because it's very troubling. Yeah. Very exciting, absolutely.
All right, giddy up. Here we go.
All right, I'm not going to seek a motion to adjourn because we are going to seek a motion to move into executive session to discuss contract negotiations. Upon that discussion, we will not take care of any further business. At that time, we will adjourn the meeting. So can I have a motion for executive session? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?